My name is George Smith, spelled Georgesmith.
Awesome. Thank you, George. And will you share with us what organization you are representing today?
I'm representing the National Society of Black Engineers.
Awesome. And will you also share who are you as it relates to the National Society of Black Engineers? As I smile with a great big smile.
I'm one of the 7 founders of the Society of Black Engineers.
Just so awesome.
We had 6 student founders who have become known as the Chicago Six. The 7th founder is actually the most important of the founders, was Dr. Arthur Bond.
Nice. And will you share with us, who was Dr. Arthur Bond?
Dr. Arthur Bond was a Black engineer. He was the first Black engineer that I ever met. Historically, he is the 42nd Black engineer to receive a PhD in engineering in the history of the United States.
Wow. What a momentous moment.
In terms of electrical engineering, he was the 12th in the history of the United States. Wow. The outcome of his life and career has resulted in the Arthur J. Bond Engineering Hall at Alabama A&M University.
So not only are you legends, you all happen to connect with a pioneer, trailblazer, and legends. So to me, it seems like it was only fitting that the 6 would be connected to this pioneer, which made it the 7th, because it seems like it was just in the DNA. It was somewhere in divine DNA that this was going to happen regardless. And what's so wonderful about this is that you have one of your co-founders with you. Ed Coleman is here with us, and this is a great space for Mr. Ed. Would you just share with us, how are you connected with this fine organization that we now call NSBE, or the National Society of Black Engineers?
Well, as you were indicating, first of all, hello and good to see you.
Yes.
And my compadre, George, good to see you. Hello, Edward. George and I go back probably too many years for people to fathom, but we were both students at Purdue University at the time that both the Society of Black Engineers at Purdue, as well as the National Society of Black Engineers, were founded. So I'm credited as being one of the 6 that you referenced earlier, along with, as you said, the 7th, Dr. Arthur Bond, Arthur J. Bond, who were instrumental in the establishment of NSBE.
Wonderful. So one of the things that I think that is very poignant about today's conversation is that you are founders and I am a founder, but you were a student founder and I work with students. And so the beautiful thing about that through Supergirl Shine Foundation is we focus on underserved girls and placing them in STEM plus opportunities. And we do that intentionally because we know the representation of STEM is low, right? With women in general, and definitely those in underserved communities. But then also we realize that if they're going to know what is possible, they have to see it earlier than later. And so that's what we do. We match them with mentors. We make sure that they're in the industry and they get opportunities through STEM hands-on experiences throughout the year. And NSBE has been a part of ours in the past years. It was, and that has been a great support. So when we think about a pioneer and students, take us back on the campus of Purdue and let's hear your origin story. How did you get there?
Well, so first of all, our origins start long before Purdue, because we met in 6th grade. So we're of a certain age, and as a result, when we first met, the Beatles had not even performed on Ed Sullivan's show yet. So we're talking about literally a lifetime ago. So Ed and I were in the same 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classroom, and then we went to different high schools. both great Chicago public high schools. My high school experience resulted in meeting the other five, I should say the other four founders. We were all friends and we met on the high school track team. And we were a social club and a clique throughout all of our 4 years of high school. And it just so happened that we all decided to study engineering. I decided when I was a freshman in high school that I wanted to attend Purdue University, and I was influenced by a role model. And this is why your program is so important, because you're exposing students to engineering role models. Ed and I and the other founders had never met an engineer before we got to Purdue University. What I did see is a high school senior when I was a freshman who was a role model. He was on the basketball team, big 6'7", 6'8" guy. They were a very competitive basketball team. So he was a star just because of that. But in addition to that, he was being honored in the very first assembly we had in high school in our freshman year. He was being honored for getting straight A's and announcing his decision to attend Purdue University and major in electrical engineering. You know, and I was sitting there in the audience and I was just totally, thrilled to see this guy because before we actually left 8th grade, I had declared that I wanted to be an electrical engineer. So this is the first person that was talking about electrical engineering. And I made my decision. I was going to Purdue University that day. I said I'm going to get straight A's 2 years in a row and get this S emblem that this guy just earned, and I'm going to learn how to play basketball. So what I say, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
That is awesome. And what a remarkable recollection and a story of such grit, of such, just timing. And I think about, and thank you for acknowledging Supergirl Shine Foundation, because again, we are in this together and we know, like I said, we know the stats and we understand the disparities, we understand the gaps, we understand the barriers, and still in 2022, we're still having this conversation. But the good thing about it is we do see changes in the numbers in which we are impacting the girls, because again, they're matched with these industry mentors. And it's like you said, you had not seen anyone prior to going or even understood or knew that that was possible. And that's why it's so important that we tap into the girls in middle school. So thank you for sharing that. Ed, when we think about just the path in which you all took and this kindred, this brotherhood, this is a fascinating story. I don't know if there's a documentary, but I'm just going to put it out there and say it needs to be a documentary, and don't forget about me, because I would love to be a part of it some kind of way. I don't know how, but be able to moderate it or do something. But I think that there needs to be a documentary about this, because the fact that you all were friends first and there was a brotherhood and this was a support system and you decided to do something together. What a story that you can share with a bunch of guys and girls now, right? About friendship and the value of friendship. And so when you think about being on the campus of Purdue University and yesterday I attended a conversation over D&I, and I'm in the city of Houston. And so we're with and having these conversations. What would you say the time was? D&I was not that conversation. That wasn't the word, but it was still going on, right? It was racism, it was segregation, those kinds of things. What would you say kept you in that space, and try to paint the picture for us? What was going on during this time?
Well, and George can probably say it at least as well as I can, and not better. When the Society of Black Engineers was established at Purdue when we were freshmen, it was done because of the fact that the Black engineering students prior to that organization had some challenges in terms of starting and then completing their degree programs. And a lot of people who started as freshmen did not finish getting their degrees as seniors. They just didn't finish. So the Society of Black Engineers was put in place for the purpose of mutual support of Black engineering students. We were beneficiaries of that as freshmen, and we understood the need for mutual support, supporting each other while we were all going through a similar process of going after our various engineering degrees. I myself was enrolled in the School of Mechanical Engineering, and there were a couple of others, and we supported each other, but most of the engineering students took a lot of common courses, and coursework was similar, and we were definitely there to support each other. There was no ifs, ands, or buts about that, and we believe we were successful.
Support system is everything. And when I think about just now and some of the things that we talk about in our programming with Matching Our Girls is a lot of our students are first gen, right? And so they did not have parents who went to school in college, and they did not have the opportunity to have the village, if you will, to be able to support them, especially through that first semester, that first quarter, back depending on where you go to school. And so that support system in this alone is a game changer when it comes to being able to matriculate through college and universities. Looking at that time now and kind of like fast forward, can you share with us, what are some things that you're really proud of that actually evolved as a result of you coming together and presenting this and making this a stamp in our history when it comes to the world of engineering? Either one of you.
I'll go first, and I'm sure George can say it a lot better again, because he's good at this. I'm really proud of the fact that what we did was accepted, and what we did collectively was accepted by not only the Black engineering students at Purdue, and then as we went national beyond Purdue, but it was accepted by a lot of people in the academic world as something that was needed throughout the United States and even beyond. The fact that having an organization like the Society of Black Engineers and then the National Society of Black Engineers was beneficial to a lot of people. And the fact that people recognize that, I'm just happy to have participated in making that happen.
Thank you. George, would you like to expound on that?
So I'm happy that we created a support system that literally changed lives. And we didn't realize it at the time. The objectives were to graduate and to get that degree and go out into industry and make some money and be competitive. But the organization has changed lives. I was just talking with an individual who fits the profile that you were talking about. His parents didn't have college education, but they had relatives that had college education. And so they encouraged their kids. And he's from a family of 7. And, hardworking father, working 3 jobs, sending him to school, and all of his siblings as well. And he had no idea, just like we had no idea what to expect when we got to Purdue University. We understood the rigors of high school, and we both came from excellent high schools. So we thought we'd be able to just continue. We didn't realize how hard we were going to have to work, how hard we were going to have to stretch our brains. But the real outcome is that lives were changed. This individual that I'm talking about became a senior executive in his early 20s. He was a hard worker, just like his father. He was the type of worker that when he was in college, he would study until midnight every night. And he continued the same practices when he went to work for Procter and Gamble, and when he went to work for DEC, and 2 or 3 years down the road, he's managing 2,000 engineers in a manufacturing facility. And he's retired, but I was just chatting with him the other day, and he said, George, I expected my life to be different, but I didn't. I'm sitting here looking out I'm sitting on my patio looking out at this pool that I have here, and I didn't expect my life to be this different. And what I've seen happen is it has changed the lives of the next generation. In my case, I had a cousin who was about 7 years younger than me. And I didn't find out until my 25th wedding anniversary when she stood up and gave a speech about my influence on her, that she followed me to the same high school, followed me to Purdue University, enrolled in mechanical engineering just because I had done it. Then it dawned upon me that all of these students who take this career path are role models themselves. And people are following their lead. The moms and grandmas are proud of them, and they're talking about them in church, and their friends are saying, you should be like Johnny, or you should be like Ed, or you should be like George, you should be like Brian. And so we have no idea who we are inspiring, and because Ed and I are so, active, we get people coming up to us telling us, that they were inspired by us. I discovered that this gentleman who is now one of the foremost STEMpreneurs, that's what I call you all. Okay, STEMpreneurs. He's one of the foremost STEMpreneurs in Chicagoland, and he grew up on the same block as one of our founders, and he was the same age as the founders' younger brothers. So they were friends, looking at the other guys in the neighborhood, and they decided they'd rather be like us than to be like them. So, this sets in motion a wonderful influence. And what I call it is peer pressure, but it's positive peer pressure. A lot of times we hear about negative peer pressure, but what you have at NSBE is you have positive peer pressure, where everyone is trying to achieve.
That is just, those stories like that, I think that I'm so glad that we're able to record them, because I hope that you too can hear, and your other founders can really, like I said, be celebrated, but also, just hear the impact that you've made on people's lives. Like, we have never physically met, and we met through social media, and I was inspired. I was intrigued. I was, I think, motivated just to continue the work in which I'm doing, just to know that, okay, if this group of guys did it, and the impact of NSBE today, right? Formerly the Society of, National Black Engineers, but NSBE today, think about what would Supergirl Shine Foundation be in 10 years and 15 years and 20 years and 30 years, right? So for all of the founders out here, we say thank you. I say thank you. We say thank you, because you didn't have to, and you didn't even think about 50 years like prior, like after you did it. You were just doing it because you felt like that was the right thing to do. And I think that just helps us to know that, what do we share with our youth today? Because you think about the societal pressures, you think about just being in a society now that sometimes embraces us and sometimes does not embrace us. right? And we still have some of those same challenges of being in the universities, maybe being the only one, maybe the only person of color, the only woman. And so what do you say to the youth today about stepping up and being that leader of resilience and execution to put something in place and leave a legacy?
Well, what I want to first say is thank you, for the kind words. But it also reminds me that we have to remain humble, and it also reminds me that there are shoulders on which we stand. So I get it. A lot of people really appreciate, the role that we played at our time. But what I also want people to understand is that there was a role played by people before us. Those are the shoulders that we stand on. And that's why we were able to do our part in our time. Ed and I, and my fellow founders, were the first beneficiaries of the minority engineering program that Arthur Bond set up at Purdue University. There was no such thing before our freshman year. We are also the beneficiary of a senior leader named Edward Barnett, who set up the Society of Black Engineers, the student organization. And when he set it up, he was a senior, about to graduate in 1972. He didn't have to do that. Okay, he was on his way out, and he became a senior executive because of his talent, his skill and his persuasiveness. But he had a responsibility. He said he had a responsibility to the underclassmen. That's a quote. And that's the reason that he set up the Society of Black Engineers. We, the Chicago Six, were the underclassmen. And so, we, by the time we became upperclassmen, it was more than a responsibility. It was an obligation, because we had become the first beneficiaries of, the encouragement of the upperclassmen. Seeing them graduate was really powerful. And I discovered, 40 years later, 5 years after I retired, that the students who were underclassmen behind us needed to see us graduate. Seeing us graduate actually provided momentum for them. And what I see in NSBE is the reason it's so strong is because we have a succession plan. This is the problem in most Black entrepreneurial organizations. There is no succession plan, but we have a succession plan, similar to the Greek organizations, similar to the other student organization, where you have an elected president and board every year. And so NSBE has gotten larger, younger, smarter, stronger. Okay. There was only a handful of Black PhDs in engineering during our day. We only met one. Okay. I could go to my LinkedIn now and I could find, I could do a search. I could probably find 50 just in my network. Maybe, I say that conservatively. I believe I could actually find 100, okay? But I promise you I could find 50. That's progress, okay? That's progress, but it's not enough progress. So, that's, where we are today. Engineers are, we pride ourselves on being problem solvers. we have not solved this problem. We are still underrepresented. Okay, what we have now is a great infrastructure, 30,000 engineers. But the worst thing we could do is to just have those 30,000 engineers talking to each other all the time. Okay, we need to be visible in these schools. We need to go back to our elementary schools, our own personal elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and let the students see us, let the students know. And I'm not just talking about the founders here, I'm talking about any engineer who has graduated and moved on, and not just the ones who graduated, the ones who are students. Listen, from the very beginning, we decided that we wanted to go back and recruit in high schools. I discovered there is a lady in my church who attended my same high school.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh, that's fine, George. Well, I wanted, George has given me an opportunity to chime in.
Okay.
It might be irony, it might be fate, but I have a grandson who just started this past August in the engineering program, mechanical engineering program at Northern Illinois University, and he is already deeply entrenched in that campus's NSBE chapter. And so that is, I think, a sign of the continuation of the succession planning that George was referencing. He's representative of what we started 50 years ago, roughly. He's representative of the potential outcome. He's absolutely right. We need all to be on a path of getting many more youngsters, Black young people who may not be aware of the opportunities that exist in engineering. We need to make sure they're aware. And so getting into the schools and just making sure that the only role models that they have shouldn't be just pro basketball players or rappers or whatever, that there are many opportunities for them to be successful in careers like engineering.
That's excellent.
I'm sorry.
That's excellent. So, as we wrap this up and we talk, I just feel like we could do this every other month, right? Just come in here and talk about what the updates are, what's going on. But I really want to thank you too for just taking time out of your day to just give us a glimpse of the history, the purpose, the position, the empowerment of why and how this particular organization, NSBE, the Society of National Black Engineers, and now NSBE came about, but then also just to get a glimpse into what you are doing. So as we do wrap this up, can you just tell us, what are you doing today? If you can quickly do that, maybe in under 30 seconds or so, what are you doing today? And what is it that you want to leave with those who will hear this particular conversation?
So if you look at the background that's behind me, I believe it says West Side Forward. I'm the president and CEO of West Side Forward, which is an organization on the west side of Chicago, focused on providing economic opportunities and the economic transformation of the west side of Chicago by engaging in business development activities, including entrepreneurship, development and support, workforce development opportunities, including high demand career preparation, and making sure that wealth building investment reaches the residents of the west side of Chicago. So that's where I am today. I do a few other things, but that's my main focus.
Awesome. Thank you. And George, you want to share with us, what are you doing today, and what is it that you would want to leave with us?
You're on mute.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Loretta. I have been retired for the last 8 years. Prior to that, I was with Hewlett Packard for 14 years. I had a consulting organization that I ran for 12 years. I was the author of 2 books that were published by the American Society for Quality. And I spent 10 years as a licensed financial planner. So 8 years ago, I was able to retire, and I started volunteering. And the first place that I said yes was at an organization run by Edward Coleman. He was my transition plan. So I volunteered to be a mentor for his entrepreneur training program. And essentially I helped entrepreneurs write business plans. And it was a great experience. I wound up helping 11 different entrepreneurs write their business plans. And some of them have done exceptionally well throughout the year. So I take great pride, in volunteering and helping other people. Since Ed is on the line here, one of the more recent people that I helped was his grandson, who was trying to finish up his Eagle Scout project. And he asked me, because he knew I had some financial services background in my history, he asked me to help him out with his Eagle Scout project, and he was awarded that. So that's an example of someone that I'm very proud of as well.
Many thanks to George for his participation in that.
Wonderful.
But there have been other projects, and the one that is most noteworthy, I believe, is that I spent the better part of 2 years as a volunteer writer for the nomination committee for the first Black woman to be inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. And her name is Patricia Bath, Dr. Patricia Bath. She invented the laser phaco cataract surgery tool. So she's literally the inventor of laser cataract surgery. And she invented the first of her 5 inventions in the 1980s. And she was nominated 11 times over more than 20 years and denied. And so it was a monumental achievement when she actually was accepted on the basis of our nomination form. And, the advice to anybody who's doing anything like that is follow the directions, okay? And do your homework and make a great case and bring evidence to the table for whatever case you're making. So there are other things that I do, but I'm a volunteer is what I do now.
I love it. I love it. Well, gentlemen, I tell you, I couldn't think of a better way to spend a portion of my day today. I'm actually at an awards luncheon for GRIT. It is where they honor women and men in the energy sector. And I took time out because this was so important that I wanted to make sure that I had this conversation today. And it gives me such joy to know that as a founder of a startup, as an entrepreneur, as a research scientist, and just a girl who loves the focus of STEM and making sure that we use that as a vehicle to disrupt the economics for underserved communities. It is a joy to have met you. I thank you so much.